The Ohio State Buckeyes are all in for a Big Ten title and a national championship in 2024. Can they do it? Yes. There are a couple of concerns we need to address first. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. So we'll see if the Buckeyes can sidestep a couple of concerns. If they do, they can win it all. Plus, we'll look at their schedule. We'll do the win-loss thing. Vegas has them at 10.5. I'll tell you where I think on which side of that number they come up in 2024. And Tuesday tweets an extensive version here, so hang around for that. Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes are looking to win it all in 2024. They want to hang 3 pelts on the wall. They want to beat Michigan. They want to win the Big Ten. They want to win the national championship. Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, following a disappointing 2023, they ran quarterback Kyle McCord out of town, looking for an upgrade there. They doubled down on name, image, and likeness money to talk a lot of great players into staying in Columbus for one more year before going pro. This year's team benefits from that, of course. And they figured out the transfer portal pretty early in the recruiting process in the recruiting year, and they filled some gaps. And I won't even mention the insane 2025 class they got coming in, tops in the nation, and it's been rated tops in the nation for a while, and they keep adding 4- and 5-star players to that list. So the future is good even beyond this year for the Buckeyes. We'll get into a little bit of that later on after we go through the schedule. We got another 5-star this week. Potential hiccups to all this glory in 2024. Quarterback Will Howard, question mark. Depth on the offensive line. And Oregon, not Michigan, is the biggest game of the year. We'll talk about all of that. Let's start at quarterback here. First of all, you all know by now, if you follow Ohio State football, they got 5 guys there in the quarterback room. Will Howard, transferred in from Kansas State. You got Devin Brown, who gave Kyle McCord a run for the money last year. Julian Sayin, the transfer from Alabama. Aaron Nolan, the other 5-star freshman that came in, and Lincoln Kienholz. Now, this team will go as far as the quarterback or quarterbacks will take them this year. And I think, like last summer, there's going to be a solid battle for quarterback at camp this year. Last year was Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, and that frankly went on a little too long. It went 2 weeks into the regular season before McCord won the job. Now, Will Howard probably gets the nod here because by far he has the most experience of any guy in that room. My knock on him is his entire career at Kansas State, he's been about a 59% completion passer. I don't like that. I don't think that's good enough in today's game. And I don't think it'll be good enough in the Big Ten. That's why we're intrigued about the other guys in the room. Even if Will Howard wins the job at week 1, will he be the guy as the season goes on? I mean, some of their best talent in that room may be some of the younger guys, the freshmen. So the question is, how soon, if at all, does Ryan Day pull the trigger on, for example, say, Julian Sayin? Offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, he likes to see these things play out. He's been at this game a long time, too. He says this decision usually makes itself on the practice field. Again, last year it really didn't for a little while at Ohio State. Regarding the 2 5-star freshman quarterbacks, Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan, Aaron Nolan has been committed to Ohio State right from the get-go, never wavered in his commitment. Even after the bowl game, things were kind of talking like, hey, things aren't great here. Maybe a couple of people were leaving. He says, no, I'm coming to Ohio State. I saw what Ryan Day did for other quarterbacks. I'm looking at C.J. Stroud. I like this. I want that for me. Then Nick Saban announces retirement at Alabama, and Crimson Tide commit Julian Sayin decided, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to Ohio State. They just got their new OC, Bill O'Brien. He recruited me in Alabama. I like him. I'm going to go there. Even though they already got a 5-star freshman there already, I'm confident in my own abilities. I'm going to go there. Then Bill O'Brien left to take the Boston College job, by the way. Lasted like 3 weeks. So maybe Bill O'Brien's greatest contribution to Ohio State is he got saying to come over there. Now, Aaron Nolan still didn't waver through all this. Said, bring it on. The two of us, may the best man win. We'll battle it out. 2 5-star freshmen for the future. And I admire the kid for taking that stance as well. And we're in the day and age where kids just bolt, even if there's even a whiff of competition for their job. Now, running back, the Ohio State Buckeyes probably have the best dynamic duo in the Big Ten. Well, in the Big Ten, maybe the country. Maybe you got Travion Henderson coming back. You got the arrival of all SEC running back Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss. Solid. Wide receiver going to be interesting. Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't there anymore. Emeka Egbuka will have to step up a little bit. And I think he will. He'll be more of a focal point this year. I'll have to lean on a couple other young receivers like Carnell Tate and freshman Jeremiah Smith out of Miami. Now, let's talk about that other question mark I have for the Buckeyes. With all these skill players, let's talk about who's going to be blocking up front. Now, last year, this is my opinion. I thought watching Ohio State games, I thought that the offensive line was a bit of a problem downfield, second level. After the initial blocks at the line of scrimmage, I thought they were of subpar as far as getting the next level and taking out a linebacker or two. I think they need to get better there. And 4 of those 5 starters are back from last year. They did get Alabama transfer Seth McLaughlin. Big Ten fans remember him. He played for Alabama. He was the guy at center in the Rose Bowl that couldn't get the shotgun snap to the quarterback, to Jalen Milroe. Probably cost him the game against Michigan. Anyway, he's coming to Ohio State. Not sure if he's going to play center or guard. Carson Hinsman is back. I don't know, one's at center, who's at guard. That'll all get worked out here shortly. Nevertheless, once we get by these guys, I don't know what the depth there is like at Ohio State. I think it's a question mark. I think it's a problem. Anybody gets dinged up, banged up, we'll see what happens. I don't think they have a lot of depth at offensive line. Defensively, Buckeyes look strong. Very, very strong. They got the bookend defensive ends, as you know, with JT Tuimoloau and also Jack Sawyer. Best in the business right there. They're solid. Going to get a lot of pressure on quarterbacks this year. Plenty of experience in the middle of the defense. Cody Simon in his 5th year at linebacker, 44 games under his belt. Going to be flanked by C.J. Hicks, who's an up-and-comer, but a former 5-star recruit. And let's not forget the secondary, Alabama transfer Caleb Downs is going to be playing safety back there. So at all 3 levels of the defense, they're in great shape there at Ohio State. This is the best roster that Ryan Day has ever had. You even heard Urban Meyer say it a couple of weeks ago. This is the best roster he's seen at Ohio State. Maybe, I don't know, since Urban Meyer won a natty 10 years ago in 2014. And then he added on, you know what? Maybe ever. Best roster ever at Ohio State. Not that added any pressure, right? We got Urban Meyer talking about that. Nevertheless, this team is put together. They answer these questions that we talked about here today at quarterback, depth at the O-line, and we're going to look at the schedule as well. I'll tell you what we're looking for in just a minute. In the meantime, if you like what you see here, subscribe. It does us a great favor, and it gets you and me into Big Ten Loop every day. Subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Don't forget to pick up some Buckeye swag for the 2024 season. Like team shirts, team hats, pennants, things for your desk, coffee mugs, all Buckeye stuff right at our website, Talk Big Ten. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. Go there. All of our podcasts are there, grouped chronologically. And also on a day like today where we feature Ohio State, this will be filed away under Ohio State. And every time we feature them, they're right there. You can go back and listen to previous ones where we have featured the Buckeyes. But also you can get your merchandise there too at talkbig10.com. All right. Now, The Ohio State win total. FanDuel has them at 10.5. We'll look at the schedule. We'll see what side of that number we think they're going to come in on and what the two most crucial games are of the season coming up. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. Michigan's not the biggest game on the schedule. Ooh, I know a lot of people, that freaks a lot of people out to hear. We'll take care of all of that in just 1 minute. Plus later on, Tuesday tweets. It's all right here on Locked On Big Ten. Game time. You want to go to some games? Game time is where you can get the tickets. This is great. You get the Game Time app, download it on your phone. They're the authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball. You want to go to a game this summer? Go to Game Time, get your tickets right there on your phone, on your Game Time app. You know, prices actually tend to go down on Game Time as you get closer to first pitch there. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat. I always tell you that's the best thing I like about it. Before you buy the ticket, you can see it right there on your phone. And their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. They got last minute deals all the time. Save up to 60% off not only just sports tickets, concerts, comedy, theater in your neighborhood. If there's a ticket, you can get it on Game Time. So check it out. Take the guesswork out of buying those tickets or Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. And no matter how you're checking us out on your favorite podcast app, share, follow, like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Spread the word of mouth. I know you know somebody who's a Big Ten fan or grad. Tell them about us, please. We're here every single day. And don't forget to check out our website. Get your favorite Ohio State merchandise there if you're a Buckeyes fan at talkbig10number10.com. All right, let's take a look at this Buckeye schedule. All right, so again, the Vegas number, the FanDuel number is 10.5 wins out of 12 games. They open up against Akron, by the way, Saturday, August 31st. That's a 3:30 game on national TV. You can watch it on CBS. And then the week after that, they got Western Michigan, 7:30. That's on the Big Ten Network. So we're going to go ahead and say a 2-0 start for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Then they've got a week off. September 14th, they're off. Bye week, very early. All right. You get to, take on Akron, Western Michigan, figure out where you got to work on some stuff. Got a week off. Then you come back and take on Marshall. All right. And then you round out September with your first Big Ten game, and that is at Michigan State. So very easy to see the Buckeyes getting off to a 4-0 start here. Then we start October, home game against the Hawkeyes. So it's at home. Hawkeyes can be tough, but better for the Buckeyes to handle them at Ohio State than to go to Kinnick Stadium. Be careful not to overlook Iowa for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they can be good and pesky, even though their offense struggles. Their defense is tough. They can bog you down. I can even see this game this year. Was it like the Maryland game, close at the first half, and then all of a sudden, then Ohio State pulls ahead in the second. I can see a game like that with Iowa. Plus, are you going to be looking ahead to what's next? The week after the Iowa game at Oregon. At Oregon. That is the biggest game on the schedule, not the Michigan game this year. I think that's going to be for a leg up on the Big Ten title. You know what? Win or lose, though, the Oregon game, I think both teams can still make the Big Ten championship. But, obviously Michigan is a wrinkle in all that. They play Oregon as well this year. Then coming out of Oregon, you got another week off, another bye built in. And then it's Nebraska, but it's a home game at Nebraska coming off a bye. So that sets up pretty good, even though I think Nebraska is going to be like the it team at the next level of the Big Ten this year. Don't want to look ahead against Nebraska either, because next game is at Penn State. You know what that's going to be about. That's going to be pretty tough as well. I still think now, no matter what happens with Oregon, I still don't see them winning the rest of their games. They got Purdue on the 9th. That's at home, and then at Northwestern. That will be, by the way, it's kind of late, but it will be homecoming for Northwestern, and they won't be. Remember, they tore down Ryan Field, rebuilding it, 2-year process. Home games are going to be on campus on the soccer field, except this one. This one, the Buckeyes, because it's going to be a bigger draw. It's going to be a bigger deal. It's going to be homecoming. They're going to have that at Wrigley Field. So that's a week before Thanksgiving. That's going to be at Wrigley Field out there. And then the next week is the Indiana game. That is at home. And then they close out with Michigan. And so, look, I think even if you remove Oregon and you remove Michigan, I think you got your 10 wins right there. All right. And I think they win one of those two, whatever. They beat Oregon and lose to Michigan, or they could lose to Oregon and beat Michigan. I don't think this team's going undefeated. It'll come close. But look, it comes down to this reason. There was a 1-loss team in the regular season last year. I don't know if it's just me or not. I don't think Will Howard is better than Kyle McCord. I do not. So that's why I spent a lot of time talking about that at the beginning of this podcast. Who's going to be quarterbacking at the end of the season? I think Will Howard is starting the season as the quarterback. I don't know if he's finishing it. So I'm going to put the Buckeyes at 11-1. I'm taking the over on the FanDuel and Vegas, 10.5 wins, 11 wins. They're playing in the Big Ten championship. Probably playing Oregon, I think, in the Big Ten championship. Maybe Michigan, maybe Penn State, but I'm going to go with Oregon and with Oregon, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. 11-1 in the regular season is where we're putting them. All right. You can agree or disagree. Love to hear from you with the comments on Twitter or on YouTube as well. By the way, side note, 2025 schedule, Texas Longhorns coming to Ohio State. I got to give credit to the Longhorns as they are moving to the SEC as we speak. Last 2 years did a home and home with Alabama there at home, and they're at the Big House this year taking on Michigan, and next year they're coming to Ohio State. Got to give them credit for scheduling those guys. Pretty good. All right, it's been a great week for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They've already got the top-ranked recruiting class of 2025. The rich get richer. Earlier this week, the Buckeyes landed 5-star linebacker Riley Pettijohn from the state of Texas. Look, I don't know how they got him out of the state of Texas. Maybe they got him a good nil deal. I don't know, but Texas wanted him. Texas A&M wanted him. USC was in the mix. Buckeyes get him. Buckeyes. Great get by assistant coach James Laurinaitis. Plucked him out of there, out of the state of Texas. Very remarkable. The Buckeyes have a great track record and a great history with linebackers who go on to the NFL. So maybe that was a selling point for Pettijohn. He likely took notice. And they're not done. The Buckeyes defensive staff, they're not resting. They got their eyes on flipping Auburn commit and 4-star defensive tackle Malik Autry. He's 6'5", 320 pounds. This kid's in high school, 6'5", 320. He's from the state of Alabama, lives 20 minutes from Auburn. So you get it. Wanted to play at home. He committed to Auburn, but Buckeyes are in the mix to flip that kid. So we'll see what happens there. All right, coming up, we got our tweets, kind of some cool stuff I want to share with you with that. Also, want to ask you, if you're watching daytime TV on FS1 or ESPN and all the talking heads drive you nuts, turn them off. Got something else for you. Locked On Sports Today is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming, nonsense, craziness, people talking louder over the next person. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we do Tuesday tweets every Tuesday. Did yours make the list? I grabbed a bunch of them here today. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it's time to take a look at our Tuesday tweets. You can follow us on Twitter or X at TalkBig10 Don't forget our website, TalkBig10 10.com for all your merchandise and our podcast as well. And I'm going to put it on screen in case you are an audio-only listener on your favorite podcast app. Got a lot of good ones here today, a lot of good graphics. And this first one on the board, we're taking it from Alan at College Football Alerts. They just plastered up here the 30 greatest college football players. This is from Bleacher Report. And they also asked the question, what's the biggest miss? Now, I'm not going to go through all 30, but I will point out after they have Herschel Walker, number 1, two-time Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State, Archie Griffin at number 2. And I'm just going to point out the rest of the Big Ten ones on here for the most part. I never know what to do with Nebraska on these kind of lists. Like Tommy Frazier's on here is the 3rd greatest college football player of all time. This is obviously before Nebraska was in the Big Ten, but I guess we'll take credit for it, right? Why not? At number, rounding out the top 5, Barry Sanders at Ohio State. Then we got Dick Buckeyes, who just passed away this past year, at number 6 out of Illinois. Howard Cassidy is 7th from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Again, USC, what do we do now? Is this Big Ten great Marcus Allen? He comes in at number 8 now that they're in the Big Ten, just ahead of Tim Tebow at 9. Vince Young rounds out the top 10 at Texas. Elsewhere, we've got, again, I don't know what to do with OJ either. I can't, never mind. Let's just move on. Orlando Pace from Ohio State comes in at number 20 on this list. Glenn Davis from Michigan State at 21. Dave Remington at Nebraska at 22. Ron Dane, running back out of Wisconsin at number 24. And Charles Woodson from Michigan, 25. So back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners there at 24 and 25 out of the Big Ten. Oh, but there's Mike Rozier, another Nebraska great at 26. And Ndamukong Suh, Nebraska great, rounding out the top 30. Those are the top 30 greatest college football players of all time, according to Bleacher Report. A lot of Big Ten history mixed in there as well. Here is a tweet from at PFF College. It lists the leaders in defensive yards allowed per game since 2014, individual teams. The best one on this list was last year's Michigan team. So this is the last 10 years. Michigan was the best, only giving up 247 yards a game last year. The year before, it was the Iowa Hawkeyes at 270 yards per game. You may be surprised to see Wisconsin in at number 3 in 2021 with 239.7 yards a game. That's got to be well, okay, that's in there. So also they listed, this doesn't seem to be by yardage because Wisconsin's number is lower than, say, Michigan's, for example. Ohio State is just ranking them. 2019, 260 yards per game. And let's see what else we got here. Big Ten. The 2016 Michigan team is on here, 262. So that's a bit of a confusing graphic, if you will, but a lot of Michigan representation in the last 10 years. This is from at Huskers Talk. It is a picture of John Butler. John Butler used to be, he's an NFL assistant. Before that, he was a Penn State defensive coordinator back in the day. He just got hired as a new defensive backs coach with Nebraska just this week. We talked about that on the podcast yesterday. Speaking of Nebraska, here's from at Coach Matt Rule. Says it's our turn to do our part. And this is a hashtag Go Big Red, by the way. This is a picture of Nebraska baseball. They had the great year that they had. Nebraska basketball, men's and women's, was great. Now it was a montage of all this stuff, and it's a video. And then he goes on and talks about how now it's football's turn to step up on what has been a very, very good year for Nebraska athletics all around, that athletic department. Here's one from at College Football Report. It is a list of the most active NFL players per team in college football. Alabama has the most. Their first on the list was 77 players. Ohio State is next at 66. LSU has 65. Michigan has 63 alum in the NFL, and Georgia rounds out the top 5 with 62. Elsewhere, Penn State checking in the top 10 at 49. Washington at 47. Oregon, 43 players in the NFL, and Iowa has 42 players. UCLA at 39. Southern Cal with 37. Thought that would be higher, to be honest with you. Elsewhere, Wisconsin checking in with 32 players. Illinois with 31. And don't want to miss anybody as I'm scrolling down this list. Michigan State with 25. Minnesota 24. Nebraska 24. Rutgers with 23 players on this list. Pretty good there. Surprised Duke is in there with 20. That many, huh? Let's see here. Elsewhere on the list, just looking for some more big. Purdue with 17 players in the NFL. And it looks like Indiana with 14 players. So there you have it. Interesting breakdown of the spread. Alum per Big Ten school, among others, in the National Football League. Here's from at Barstool IU, hashtag never daunted, Khalil Ware, the former Hoosier who was drafted just a couple weeks ago by the Miami Heat, playing in just his second summer league game, put up 26 points, 11 boards, and 3 assists, shot 57% from the field, says Cook, big fella. That is awesome. That is that's a lot better than Bronny James's start to the summer league, wouldn't you say? Here's at Corey Clayton. This is why Caitlin Clark is hashtag WNBA Rookie of the Year. No one else is statistically close. It says Clark leads the whole league in combined points scored and assisted upon. Clark will be in the MVP discussion at the season's end, especially if the Fever are over 500. She leads the way with 713 points, and I agree with everything on this tweet. Everything. Remember, after the quote-unquote slow start, and before long, she's going to be the best player in the league if she's not already. Here is one from at Go Blue. 6 months ago today, Michigan won a national championship. So this is a highlight from the game against Washington. Always a reminder: 15-0, 6 months ago today, winning a national championship. Here's a couple of Ohio State ones at CJ12. This is Cardell Jones. Says, I haven't played a snap at Ohio State in 9 years. Was part of a national championship team 10 years ago. The continued love and support I receive in Ohio/Buckeye Nation, you'll think I'm still behind center. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. That's pretty cool. Here's from at Tom A. Clock. A good Buckeye morning. Ohio State fans, only 145 days until the team up north. Hashtag go Bucks. Hashtag go blue. Hashtag the game. And here's from at Michigan Clock. The gratuitous Ohio State has not beaten Michigan in football in 1,682 days. Also, we have back to the Buckeyes at the Buckeye Nut posting out. This is video of 5-star Texas linebacker Riley Pettijohn that we were just talking about. The day he announced he committed to Ohio State, he's putting on the Buckeye hat. So congratulations there. Big day for him. This is from at Barstool Tate. Another day, another EA Sports cheap shot at Ohio State through the use of a video game trailer. I won't overreact, but Donovan Edwards in Michigan doing a celebration literally called the CJ Stroud dance. The entire video is an obvious troll attempt. Won't get me mad, though. It's got Donovan Edwards dancing like CJ Stroud. It's upsetting some people. I'm sure they did it on purpose. And what do we have here from at Barstool IU, hashtag never daunted? 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis. You know, he's been making the rounds, visiting some schools. IU is in the mix. IU is not, they've never been in a mix for a 5-star quarterback. He likes the coaching staff there. And here he is rocking the Indiana Hoosiers swag. You know, you can get that exact same shirt at our website, talkbig10.com. This is his recent Instagram post, by the way. Maybe he's committing to the Hoosiers. This is from at Barstool, Iowa. This is a video of the new locker room. It says the new locker room on fire at Iowa. TV screens, leather seats in the locker, nice carpeting. That looks nice. I was about to say, hey, maybe some Caitlin Clark money's rolling into the athletic department. But you know what? Iowa football does just fine by itself. And there you have it. A look at our Tuesday tweets. I hope you enjoyed it. I always do. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you know the deal, or X, at Talk Big Ten number 10. Hit me up on Twitter. If I like your tweet, I'll put it on here. Every Tuesday, we do it here on Locked On Big Ten. Comment on Twitter or X. Comment on YouTube. Get those going back and forth. And you can always check us out there. And don't forget our website, talkbig10 number 10.com. You see the scroll there on the bottom if you're watching on video. Be sure to subscribe before you go. Tell your friends about us. And follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. After you watch a few more episodes of Locked On Big Ten, don't forget our friends at Locked On Sports Today here for you 24/7 on YouTube as well. You can subscribe there as well. All right, we're taking care of a team, focusing on a team every day. We got 18 teams, 2 down. Yesterday we did Michigan. You want to go back at talkbig10.com and check it out. It's there. Ohio State today. Penn State tomorrow. Pivotal year for James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. We will tell you why on tomorrow's podcast. Thank you for joining us here today. Appreciate it as always. Can't wait till our visit tomorrow right here on Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. See you next time.